let's say you are a small child who has a family member, probably, I shouldn't say probably, but perhaps a parent is locked up, or your brother just got locked up. You live in a neighborhood that is chronically underfunded. You do not have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, right? Because you're in an underserved area that's been redlined. You have one parent who is working, if you're living in that type of environment, probably a job that is what they would call unskilled labor. So they're probably not making a whole lot. You might be a little food insecure. You're 6 years old, and now your teacher's trying to talk to you about ABCs. How well would you pay attention? Might you act out?
You know what? I'm not gonna pay attention if I have either way, whether my belly is full or empty, and the reason why I say that is if you're not used to having a full belly, then you're gonna be sleepy. You know what I'm saying?
There's that
If
too.
right? If breakfast is intermittent for you and it's
Mm-hmm.
not your normal schedule, then if
Mm-hmm.
you don't get it, you're gonna be hungry. If you do get it, then you're gonna be tired because your body's not used to that, getting
Mm-hmm.
sustenance in the morning. So, yeah, that's like when do they when are they able to pay attention if they're food insecure?
Good question. And if you are unable to sit still, right? Your stomach hurts and you're rocking and you're making noises. Do you care about one, two, three and ABCs? Probably not. But we're not even getting into some of the things that these kids see regularly, right? Like the PTSD that some of these kids have
Mhm,
just because of the environments that they grow up in. And
mhm.
now
It
we're
might not
kicking them
even
out.
be their home environment, right? It could be their
It might
neighborhood.
not. It could just be
There
their neighborhood.
is a young lady that I know that lives in Mountain View. She has a set of twins, and, because of the neighborhood that they live in and the fact that they hear shots regularly,
Hmm.
her son now has PTSD. He's 8. He can't
Wow.
sit still. He cannot sit still. He is all over the place all the time, and he melts down regularly, and you're like, "What's wrong?" There's nothing wrong, but he hears a noise or you know what I mean? Like, he's really this summer has been a very violent summer in Anchorage, and, he's gonna walk away with that with scars for the rest of his life,
Hmm.
probably.
Yeah, that trauma is really hard to get over.
So now you have these kids that have this trauma. They live in an area that's underfunded. Is anyone going to be able to help them talk their way through it? And we're talking about children who do not have the capacity to emotionally regulate. Like these are little, like they're babies. You're hungry, you're tired, your neighborhood's probably kind of janky. You probably don't have the best teacher. And I don't mean the best teacher in that this is a horrible person. I mean, you probably have someone who's inexperienced, right? Because typically they send younger teachers to more like troubled areas so they can kind of get their feet under them and learn how to become better teachers. So chances are your teacher is
Or
fairly new
problem
to this,
teacher, or problem.
or a problem teacher.
Mhm.
And so you've got all of these things. And that's not saying that at some point these kids need to be responsible for themselves. That is not what we're saying at all. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's really difficult
Set 'em up for success at least.
if you're not set up for success. It's a lot, it makes life so much harder for you. And so when we talk about these, like, these black kids and these Mexican kids, they're causing so much trouble and they just don't listen. Have you considered if these kids are looking
Indigenous kids
to
too.
survive? Indigenous kids, thank you. These kids of color are trying to survive in a world that was not meant for them to thrive. That is
Mm.
terrifying. So we're talking about redlining and the school to prison pipeline, right? Are you seeing the connections that we're making? You have an
Yep.
area that's underfunded because, okay, good. I just want to make sure that we weren't like, hit here. Right. So this is a really cool infographic that talks about how disproportionately Black and brown kids of color are kind of pushed through with discriminatory practice and things like zero tolerance, because that's how you get rid of a 5-year-old. Is we have a zero tolerance for misbehaving. They have to
Can't
go.
see the bottom of the
Mm.
slide, Siobhan.
It's coming on the next one.
Oh, okay.
We had to split it. We had to split it. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess. Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. And then, okay, so let's think about this. You have this school, so somehow you manage to make it through pre-K, and then you get to elementary school, and then you get to junior high, and now they've got metal detectors at your school. Now, instead of resource folks, you have cops, armed cops, who, by definition, are surveillors, right? And these are people who are in your neighborhoods, and now they're at your school. And what does that tell a kid? What does that teach you? One of the things, and people have said that I was wrong about this. I did some research and I saw some documents that said I am absolutely 100% correct. My high school, Bartlett, is concrete. What I read was that in the beginning, it was designed to be a prison. And if
Okay.
you look at the way my high school is built, it looks like a prison. And I remember hating that place. I remember hating it because it felt weird. And I go look at the high schools in my neighborhood now in Portland, and these look like the high schools from like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or back to like these look like high schools from the movies I used to see when I was a kid. That is not what Bartlett looked like. And Bartlett,
Not a lot of windows at Bartlett.
not at all, not at all. And they have tiers, like there's literal tiers. You have blue hall, orange hall, purple hall, green hall, and yellow hall. And they're all set up on tiers. And it, like I said, it looks like they were supposed to be cell blocks. Um, So I just think about that. And Anchorage has got the most diverse school district in the country. And you think about where Bartlett is, and you think about how it was supposed to be a prison, and then you start thinking about the racial demographics of that school, and you're like, it's like they were setting us up from jump. It's like they were setting us up to get used to being in a concrete box with a whole bunch of other people. Like it's interesting. So again, schools in redline areas often lack sufficient funding. Um, if you ever want to see this played out on television, there's an incredible show called Abbott Elementary that is all about an elementary school that's in Philadelphia. It's in Philly, and this school is forever facing problems because people with money don't care about these kids. And so it's about how these teachers are like super scrappy and they work to make their kids' environment better than what it is. And they know their kids deserve better. Right. And so they're doing the very best that they can. It is an incredible show. And I encourage anyone who's interested in something like this to watch it.
I'm
Um,
sorry, what was the name of that again?
it's called Abbott Elementary.
Uh-huh.
It comes on ABC, but it's on Hulu. And if you need my Hulu password, let me know. You can borrow it. It's fine. It's fine if you want to use my Hulu password to catch up. Um, So then, when you have these types of environments, all you're doing is increasing the likelihood that these kids are going to end up in the criminal justice system, right? This leaves them, vulnerable and disengaged, and it's a lot easier to punish a bad kid. You know what I mean? It's easy to punish a bad kid. It's easy to keep a bad student, a bad kid out of school. It's a lot harder to get them the resources they need in order to develop into the people that they could become.
Yeah.
Right? It's a really quick fix that has long-lasting impacts. And one day, one of our academies, we are going to talk about the prison industrial complex, and how privatized prisons are literally built off the backs of poor and underserved people. We will get into that. Today is not that day, but we will get there. So it's pretty much a domino effect, right? We kind of talked about this, so I won't beat a dead horse, but I just want to continuously make sure that we're thinking about, those kids that are brought up in these areas, and it feels like they don't stand a chance because the deck has already been stacked against them. And what they deserve is quality education and some compassion and funding.